Hello, world. This is the Brother to Brother Show. I'm your host, K-Mo. Thank you for taking this journey with us with real men, real problems, real solutions. Let's go. All right, good people. We're back at the Brother to Brother Show. I'm your host, K-Mo. I'm really excited doing this session because we have three phenomenal gentlemen on with us today to speak about a really good topic that we kind of were just talking offline about and said we need to make this into a podcast. So we have CJ, we have KC, and we have King. And so these brothers are all over the country. And so we got a chance to speak about happiness for both, making room for him in the house and balancing relationships. So we're going to describe what that really looks like. So basically, we want to make sure that both parties in a household are heard. But because we are men and we want to also have our voices heard and have a good conversation around that, healthy conversation around that, so we can have positive outcomes, we wanted to have a conversation around that. So anybody can take this. So what does that look like for anybody on this call right now? When you talk about balance for both, what does that mean to you when you're thinking about that in a household?
Well, this is KC. I'll start it off. It looks like compromise, and a lot of times compromise has this stigma that goes along with it that basically is saying you're not getting what you want. And compromise is, in my opinion, you do everything. You want to make your partner happy, and in turn, your partner wants to make you happy, and you both know that. And so it's almost like you have this agreement that each other will be the focus. And sometimes when you have a dilemma or you have a choice to make, hey, do I go out to the game with my boys, or do I, hang with my lady or my significant other because I know they really need the time because, she's going through a difficult moment or she got a big project due tomorrow or something like that, and she needs that support. So, staying home and supporting her would be the thing to do because that makes her happy, and because it makes her happy, that should make you happy. Now, that said, we do oftentimes want to be selfish, and we, there are things we want, there are things we need, and sometimes it's either hard to communicate that to someone or the other person is not seeing the signs. And so that's when I think sometimes we become a little selfish and we begin to do things for ourselves without consideration of the other person. So I'm going to stop there and let you guys jump in.
And I'll pick up. This is King. I think you made a good point with compromise. I think it's balancing selfishness with selflessness. I think that when you're in a relationship, even more so in marriage, there has to be a level of selflessness in regards to keeping the other person happy and making sure that you're happy as well, and everybody in the house is getting what they want. But also you have to take care of your needs as well, and you have to be at a point. And also, I think in a relationship, you got to be okay with saying what it is you do and you don't want, and taking that time for yourself. And I think if you're always, I know for me and my wife, each one of us takes our time to do the things that we want to do. And if there's a time where I just need something, I just need like an hour to just be off. And I can get that, but I think you got to balance selfishness and selflessness, because you start to look at things a certain way, but you're not putting your needs as a priority as well. Because you can't always put everything else first. And I think you have to create a balance. But I think that balance comes from each partner knowing that the other person needs that me time and needs certain things. Like for me, I'm a big college football fan, and for me, I don't exist whenever Michigan plays, and that's kind of like, I don't exist whenever Michigan plays. That's the balance and my wife understands that. She understands that I have between 12 and 3. He's off, and that's what he needs. But I also know I can't be like I was in college, just watch college football all day, because she needs her time. I have a son now, so we need family time. So it's striking that balance and knowing what are your non-negotiables, setting your non-negotiables in place and balancing that selflessness with selfishness. That's what I would say is key. And on top of having the right partner to understand that.
Yeah, and so this is CJ, and I'll say that I agree with these brothers. I mean, I feel like, the phrase selfishness and selflessness is so important, and being able to communicate, I think, is core in any relationship or marriage, and it's important, as you think of kind of being, being a good partner to your wife or to your girlfriend, but also not shrinking. I think is a good way for me to say it. Not shrinking in a relationship where you're not taking up adequate space. Ultimately, I'll give an example. If, for example, you like to work out 4 days or 5 days a week, but it takes you an hour and a half, or so to get home, 2 hours to get home to do your full workout, then maybe the worst thing is for you to stop working out, right? Yeah. Because you are your best self when you get to do the things that are important to you, right. And you're a better partner when you get to do the things that are important to you. But when do you choose to do it? And is it selfish because you take your 2 hours in the middle of the nighttime routine if you got a kid, a baby? Or do you wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. and get your workout in so that you can keep that balance and still be available to your partner? It's a small example, but it's one example of the need for us really as men to not shrink and become so selfless in the relationship that we aren't ourselves. We aren't sort of communicating with other men. We aren't doing the things we like to do, i.e., watch football. I think it's such an important question. What I found happened, at least for me early on in my marriage, was that I felt like I wanted to be the best husband possible, the best father possible. So I found myself doing everything I thought I should be to be those things. But what I didn't realize and didn't understand at the time, at least, was that my wife also needed me to be me. And she needed me to be strong, like a strong sort of voice in the marriage and in the household too. And the only way you get that is if you are, if you're a little bit selfish as well, and that you take up space in the relationship.
Can we? I want to turn to just a little bit because CJ, we talked about it when we were thinking about this topic, and you mentioned that sometimes that's why the topic is what it is how do we make time for him? And, like, what does that really look like when you're this person in your everyday life, right? You leave home every day and you're treated a certain way. But when you get home, you're not treated like that king. And I'm not saying, I think one thing that we've all kind of gotten away from as people of color, at one point, we used to treat each other as so. Like I remember when my mom used to say to me, "You're a king. You're a king, so you need to, blah, blah, blah." And those things that were very powerful and I would think that I would need to do the same thing, absolutely, for a woman. And cause I have no resistance towards that at all. I think that that's what people need, just people in general too, right? You want to be encouraged by the person. That's what you're doing in the dating process too. But I feel like that has to happen. For some reason, some of those things probably change at some point. But anybody can tackle that when you feel like you're coming home and you're not seen as the same king that you might have been seen at, in your daily life.
Yeah. No, so this is CJ again. It's such an important topic, right? And such an important area of discussion, especially for Black men to be in conversation with each other about, because I wouldn't want to suggest that the expectation should be that we're going to get treated, or even that we would want it to be that we get treated exactly the same way in a work environment for men who, like myself, I'm doing my thing and certainly ambitious, and I got folks that report to me, and I'm running huge organization. And so when I come home, again, earlier on in my marriage, I would come home and be like, almost give up, like, hey, well, she got the home situation, so what do you need me to do?
Yeah.
You want me to stop and get what? Almost like, and even when it came to the kids, in my case, I had 3 little ones. It was, well, what do you want to do with them for the weekend? Or, what kind of cool, activities should we do with them for this holiday while they're going to be out of school? And just really almost relinquish some of the interest that I had in actually coming up with creative ideas myself, and being, walking in the front door and having an opinion about sort of how, how the house was managed and how the bills were paid and, all of that. So I say that to say we have, as men, responsibility to, I'll say it again, to make sure that we are creating space for ourselves and being clear that I have thoughts about how this should go, and my perspective is just as valid here as it is at work. You know what I mean? I think we have to make space for ourselves, and we have to communicate it well. In any relationship, you navigate and compromise. We fortunately are living through a time where Black women also have their voice, and I will tell you, I'm attracted to strong Black women, and so I don't necessarily fight that. What I have had to learn how to do is work it, and work with it in a way that doesn't seem adversarial, but also takes my voice into consideration in a strong way.
Yeah, I mean, this is KC. I definitely agree with that. Because the communication part is key, as well as maintaining your own space in a relationship where you have 2 strong personalities, 2 successful people, or just 2 motivated parents. And I think sometimes as a Black man, we need to be very deliberate about what support looks like from our standpoint. I'll share with you a quick anecdote or a quick story. I was having a conversation with a young lady that's a friend of mine, and I said something that was my opinion. I was merely giving my opinion on something, and she took it as me not supporting her or thinking that something that she was going to do was going to succeed. And at first, I was very defensive. That's not what I meant. But then I understood it from her perspective that if you already have this dynamic where you're a strong, successful black woman, I'm a strong, successful black man, when we come together, the way we talk to each other at home is different than the way I talk to people in the office. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I got to turn that off because, you know, my office persona may be a little coarse than my home persona should be. And so, you know, those are things we got to recognize when we're trying to kind of make space for ourselves that, you know, you might be a different person when you're in your office than when you are when you come home. And how do those people, you know, how does that persona jive with your wife, your kids, and you know, are you bringing that best self home and kind of shedding a little bit of that work persona, because not, you know, people don't want to be managed at home. And whether it's needed or not, they don't want to feel like they're being managed.
Yeah.
So,
But no, I agree with that. I think both you guys hit the nail on the head. I won't beat a dead horse, but I think that in creating space, I think that because the reality of it is, and I think one of both of the brothers on the call that married, but like you're never off. Like there's never like you're on all the time. Like when you're at work, you're on. Like if you're in some type of managerial position, you're on because all eyes are on you. When you're at home, the stakes are even higher when you're at home, and you kind of have to view it like that because this is your family. And I think a lot of times we put so much in at work that when we get home, we just want to be off. And we need that off time, but the thing is, but how we go about some things at home, you still have to be on. But how we navigate that space at home is I think is huge because you got to communicate exactly what it is you need as at the home. The same way your wife is going to articulate the things that she needs, you have to make sure that you are voicing what it is you need, because if you don't, it's going to come out in such ways. I know for me, that happened with me. I know I wasn't voicing some of the things I needed, and when it came out, Versus like, if I come home, I have to say, I don't want to be hit with a bunch of different demands when I come home. I need about 30 minutes before you hit me with the list. Just give me 30 minutes before you hit me with the list. And once I settle in, I'm all in. Just give me some time before you hit me with the list. But just being deliberate about the things that you need and carving out your space. The same way that we expect our women to carve out that space, we need to do that as well. But we also, how we do it is important as well, because we've all dealt with girlfriends and wives, and a perfect message can be lost in translation if it comes across a certain way. So it's just being deliberate about carving out your space, the things that you need, and understanding that when you're home, you still have to strategize how you do that. You can't just be off and just give your wife like the unfiltered version of everything you want because you're on at work with 40 staff members, 10 staff members, or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
What I want to pose a question to is like, what is that? Since, you know, I know we can all say we experience this, but, you know, I've heard in the past, well, strong women are just, I hate even use the word strong, because I think all women are strong. Like if you're able to pull a baby out of you, you're strong. I don't know anybody on this call can do that and be like, okay, they can deal with a different level of pain that we can't. And I think that's the uniqueness of a woman as opposed to the uniqueness of a man. I'm just gonna put that out there. But when I say like, you know, we were raised differently. So as men, especially men on this call, in the sense of, you know, we weren't really taught how to like talk. We weren't really, you know, and then I hear women now will say, well, I want up, you know, you shouldn't apologize for certain things. And I believe that, I heard KC say it, like, you shouldn't apologize for, you having a feeling about something. I'm not saying that you did do that either, but I think I know the situation that you were talking about, because we talked about it offline. But, I think that for men, for so long, we never had a voice. And I know women say they've never had a voice, but an emotional voice to say how we felt, if that makes any sense. So I'm hearing every guy like talk about like their experience and then how to talk about it, because it's so hard to be that guy as soon as you walk in the house, because it's supposed to be, to me, a sigh of relief when you get home, right? But just on the joking side, like I've seen guys, you stop at the bar, you stop at the park, and I've seen guys just sitting in their car. I'm like, I don't want to be that dude doesn't want to go home. Like I want to, and hit with the list or whatever that might be. But I think that's just a level of communication that a lot of guys haven't gotten to yet, or even know how to start. And I think that's the reason why we're having this conversation. So when we talk about balance and starting that, so what I please know we love you, work with us, be with us, and know we're coming from the heart. This is the Brother to Brother Show.